morning, my friends, and welcome to another weekend update. From very high above all the puerile and insipid forms of Wyoming mainstream media, this is Cowboy State Politics. I, of course, am your illustrious host, David Iverson, firmly ensconced behind the silver Cowboy State Politics microphone and broadcasting to you from the base of the Bighorns at the Cowboy State Politics studio in Sheridan, Wyoming. Good morning, my friends, and welcome to the program, a slightly later than usual installment of Weekend Update. Don't you just hate it when you have a plan all put together, you get ready to start putting it together, and then everything changes? Me too. That's what happened this morning. A little bit after I got up, got my cup of coffee, and sat down behind the microphone, I had fully intended this morning to talk about the whole thing surrounding bear care, or what they're calling it, bear care. It's more government adventurism into the private market. I was all stoked to talk about free market capitalism, and then I turned on Fox News, and there it was. I saw that the United States has attacked Venezuela and captured Nicolas Maduro and his wife. There is absolutely no doubt whatsoever that Nicolas Maduro is a criminal of gigantic proportions. He's absolutely a dictator, and an illegitimate one on top of it. That is, of course, if a dictator can ever be legitimate. I suppose in upside-down, cracked-out world, a dictator could be legitimately elected. But in this case, he wasn't. Venezuela held an election, and pretty much everybody in the country except Maduro, said that he lost by double digits. Maduro claimed that he won by 51% of the vote, but he wouldn't release the results. He was due to start his third term on January 10th. That's going to be a bit of a problem now since he's in U.S. custody. Last night, the U.S. carried out a targeted strike inside Venezuela. Instead of going down the road of should we have even intervened, or should we have arrested Maduro, or is he a criminal, or do we have any right to do anything at all, I think we should first listen to what the president said. And this is the part that completely derailed this morning's program. I don't often talk about foreign policy on the podcast, but in this case, I think that we probably should. So before we begin this conversation at all, let's take a listen to what the president said. Now, I recorded some of his press conference this morning, and so you can hear about him announcing the strike and his reasons for it. Context isn't just important in these types of cases. It's important for all cases. So I recorded a portion of the president's press conference, and we'll just listen to it beginning to end, and then I have some serious concerns afterwards.
Late last night and early today, at my direction, the United States Armed Forces conducted an extraordinary military operation in the capital of Venezuela. Overwhelming American military power, air, land, and sea, was used to launch a spectacular assault. And it was an assault like people have not seen since World War II. It was a force against a heavily fortified military fortress in the heart of Caracas to bring outlaw dictator Nicolas Maduro to justice. This was one of the most stunning, effective, and powerful displays of American military might and competence in American history. And if you think about it, we've done some other good ones like the attack on Soleimani, the attack on al-Baghdadi, and the obliteration and decimation of the Iran nuclear sites just recently in an operation known as Midnight Hammer, all perfectly executed and done. No nation in the world could achieve what America achieved yesterday, or frankly, in just a short period of time. All Venezuelan military capacities were rendered powerless as the men and women of our military, working with U.S. law enforcement, successfully captured Maduro in the dead of night. It was dark. The lights of Caracas were largely turned off due to a certain expertise that we have. It was dark and it was deadly. But captured along with his wife, Celia Flores, both of whom now face American justice. Maduro and Flores have been indicted in the Southern District of New York. It's Jay Clayton, for their campaign of deadly narco-terrorism against the United States and its citizens. I want to thank the men and women of our military who achieved such an extraordinary success overnight with breathtaking speed, power, precision, and competence. You rarely see anything like it. You've seen some raids in this country that didn't go so well. They were an embarrassment. If you look back to Afghanistan or if you look back to the Jimmy Carter days, they were different days. We're a respected country again, like never before. These highly trained warriors operating in collaboration with U.S. law enforcement caught them in a very ready position. They were waiting for us. They knew we had many ships out in the sea, just sort of waiting. They knew we were coming. So they were in what's called a ready position. But they were completely overwhelmed and very quickly incapacitated. If you would have seen what I saw last night, you would have been very impressed. I'm not sure that you'll ever get to see it, but it was an incredible thing to see. Not a single American service member was killed, and not a single piece of American equipment was lost.
The president went on for several more minutes, but what I played for you is pretty much the bulk of what he had to say. Let's take a quick break, and when we come back, we'll see if we can get a little bit of perspective on this morning's events. Today's late edition of Cowboy State Politics is brought to you by Rebecca Bextel at eXp Realty. Whether you're buying or selling, you need a real estate agent that you can trust. And that agent is Rebecca Bextel at eXp Realty. Get this, she's been known to talk buyers out of a particular piece of property simply because it didn't meet their needs. She's got her fingers on the pulse of the real estate market all across the state of Wyoming. So it doesn't matter whether you're looking for a new place or you got one to sell, call Rebecca. Her phone number is 307-699-3519. One more time, 307-699-3519. Weekend Update is also brought to you by Morton Buildings. If you already have that piece of property and you need to put a garage or a barn or some other type of metal structure, maybe a roping arena or a giant warehouse, the two guys you need to talk to are Marcos and Jesse at Morton Buildings. They're the experts in what they do, and they've been doing it longer than anybody else around. So whatever type of building it is, give Marcos and Jesse a call. Their phone number is 307-674-2532, or you can check them out at their website, mortonbuildings.com. Make sure that you subscribe and follow the program. That way, you can be notified every time there's a brand new episode of Cowboy State Politics. To do that, go to the website, cowboystatepolitics.com, or anywhere that you get your podcasts. And while you're at the website, sign up for the newsletter, The Outrider. All you got to do is put your email address in there and hit submit, and I'll send you a copy of it. And now, back to the program. Already this morning, online, I've seen lots of opinions about whether we should or we shouldn't have, or if it was right or not, or if he needed Congress's approval or he didn't, and you get the idea. Everybody's got an opinion, and all of them are pretty much worth the same. Governor Gordon issued this statement, and I quote, "Today, we're watching a very serious and rapidly unfolding situation in Venezuela, where American forces have carried out military strikes. The president has reported that Maduro has been captured and removed from power. Maduro was a corrupt and undemocratic leader, and his regime was not a product of free and fair elections recognized by democratic standards. The Venezuelan people have suffered under his repression and corruption for years. They now have a chance to be free. We all are praying for our troops, for their protection and safe return, and for all Americans still in Venezuela right now, including diplomatic staff and those working for private industry. I pray they remain safe and can return home soon. That's what the governor had to say, definitely in support of the operation. Others, like former Representative Scott Clem of Campbell County, had to say, quote, "Looks like we've forgotten what happens when America adopts regime change as its foreign policy. Even after we caught Saddam, we spent over a decade of American tax dollars and American blood trying to stabilize a region who didn't want us or our democracy. Americans don't pay taxes so that our military can be the world's police force." At this 10 seconds, that appears to be a bit of a non sequitur. The operation in Venezuela appears to be a targeted strike, not unlike the one that took out Soleimani or al-Baghdadi or bombed the crap out of the nuclear facilities in Iran. As you can imagine, the Democrats are screaming bloody murder that he didn't get the permission of Congress before conducting the strike.
And second, I will demand of Rubio and Hegseth what the hell is going on in the Caribbean and in Venezuela. What are their plans? How far do they plan to go? Trump has already talked about Venezuela waters and even going attacking Venezuela on land. How far do they intend to go? And when Trump says these crazy things, does he really mean them? And will he drag America into an endless war?
He said that after babbling on about the Obamacare subsidies for about 10 minutes. Now, if it were a Democrat in office that just took out an evil dictator, they'd be singing a whole different tune. Here's Dianne Feinstein right after Muammar Gaddafi was killed.
Of what happened to Gaddafi. I think it's pretty clear, candidly, that he's dead. And I think now there's an opportunity for Libya to move forward, to put all this behind him, to show that they can make a real contribution to the world as a stable country with real democratic values.
Really didn't turn out that way, did it? And who could forget what Hillary Clinton had to say? We came, we saw, he died. Here she is.
That is the land of unconfirmed.
Yes, we came, we saw, he died.
Did it have anything to do with your visit?
No, I'm sure it did.
Yeah, me too. And I'm sure the death of U.S. service members in Benghazi had everything to do with Hillary Clinton, too. Anyway, fast forward, when Trump took out Soleimani, the Democrats were back to he needed to get permission from Congress, and how dare he conduct military operations without our approval. Do you know why presidents don't go to Congress before they do stuff like this? Because the Democrats would leak it. We already have Democrats on the floor of Congress defending drug runners who have boats packed with narcotics. What makes you think they wouldn't leak a military strike targeted at Nicolas Maduro? But there's one key point here that shouldn't go unnoticed. We didn't kill Nicolas Maduro or his wife. We arrested them. They were indicted by the Southern District of New York for their drug offenses. So while I can't give this credit to Trump for Soleimani or Baghdadi, certainly those two needed to be brought to justice, which I guess technically they are being brought to justice, just not the earthly kind. But they did arrest Nicolas Maduro, so good job on that. But there was one thing that Trump said that troubles me a great deal. He said that we're going to run the country for a while. Now, to be frank about it, I don't know how you get around doing that, since we just took out the country's so-called leader, and there has to be a whole brand new administration brought in. But to me, it does smack, maybe just a little bit, of this foreign adventurism and setting up democracies abroad. And to be sure, this is exactly what former Representative Scott Clem was talking about. I don't agree with him, by the way. I think the two situations are apples and oranges apart. But in all fairness and trying to be entirely objective about this whole situation, it gave me a little bit of pause when I heard the president say this.
We're going to run the country until such time as we can do a safe, proper, and judicious transition. So we don't want to be involved with having somebody else get in, and we have the same situation that we had for the last long period of years. So we are going to run the country until such time as we can do a safe, proper, and judicious transition. And it has to be judicious.
Yeah, see, this is the part that gives me a little bit of pause. How long are we going to run the country? Should we be running the country? I think there's an unequivocal answer to that one, and it's no. But again, at this point, I don't know how you avoid that. Already, the guy that probably won the election in the first place is moving to replace Nicolas Maduro, so it sounds like things are happening very quickly in Venezuela. Now, if you have questions about whether we should or we shouldn't have arrested Nicolas Maduro, there's no doubt about it that he is a criminal. He's one of the guys behind all of the narco-terrorism that was coming from Venezuela. He hasn't paid any attention to sanctions, whether they're from the U.S. or from other countries in the world, and he's repeatedly violated them. He turned what was one of the world's wealthiest countries into a communist hellhole. So in my mind, there's no question about whether we should or shouldn't have arrested Nicolas Maduro. The guy deserved to be arrested. He's a narco-terrorist, and now he's going to be brought to justice. We didn't kill him like Soleimani or al-Baghdadi or any of the ones that Barack Obama took out. But like I said, the big question in my mind is how long are we actually going to be running that country? And what exactly does that entail? Are we going to get out of the country right after the guy who probably won the election takes power? Are we going to leave then? Or are we going to stick around? See, these are all big questions that need to be answered, and I don't think that any of us right now have those. But should we absolutely be critical and question our elected officials? Absolutely, we should. One of the big things that Trump campaigned on is no more foreign wars. So is this getting us into another foreign war? Personally, I don't think so. But what about all the people that Maduro was selling oil to? Are they going to come to the defense of him? Another solid question. And lastly, I think another big question is, will the administration be as transparent as they possibly can be with this entire operation? I hope so, but like all of the other answers to the questions, we're going to have to wait for them. And my friends, I will be all ears for them. Well, that'll do it for today's installment of Weekend Update. Have a good rest of your weekend, and we'll talk again on Monday. But for now, from the base of the Bighorns at the Cowboy State Politics Studio, I'm David Iverson, and this is the one and only Cowboy State Politics.